My dear people of Southern Cameroons, fellow Amazonians, brave warriors of our liberation movement, accept revolutionary greetings from me, John Ba Akuro. Today is Monday, September 6th, 2021. My people, today we are going to take a gentle, quick, and cursory look at what is happening in Guinea Conakry. Sometimes we're told that what is happening in your neighbor's house can jolly well happen in your own house. So it is important that when these things happen, we take a moment, look at the situation on the ground, try to analyze and understand why such things happened, and then give ourselves the opportunity to look into the future and see how this connects with our own situation. Today, the people of Guinea Conakry are in total ecstasy. They are celebrating, they are happy, they are excited. Excited when their leader has been shown the door by the same people who expected to be guarding him. In other spheres, we have seen people come out on the streets rather to protest that the elected, in quote, because in this case it was not really that situation, that the elected leader should be maintained in his position. That is because you have the backing of the people. But when we see what we are seeing in Guinea Conakry, we understand, therefore, that there was already a disconnect between the president, Mr. Alpha Conde, who had been in the opposition for many, many, many years and came to power in 2010 with the promise of not only instituting but consolidating the baby steps of the country towards democracy by creating strong institutions and making it difficult to have strong men emerged. But unfortunately, it was the contrary. This is going to be the substance of our discussion today, and we will see how this relates to us. But before I get to that, let me make again this quick reminder. My people, today is September 6th. This means we are less than a month, calling out 3 weeks away from a very big day in the lives of the people of the Southern Cameroons. That is October 1. How are we preparing? I'm sure in whatever corner or angle you are, you're already doing one or two things to ensure that October 1, that is our Independence Day, should be a day where we remind the world that we, the people of the Southern Cameroons, are no longer going to stay where they want to place us, where they have placed us, to stay in slavery and servitude, where we have been for 60 years and counting. That is the day we shall come out in our huge numbers. But also, that is the day we shall be launching a very important project that I talked about before. It is actually Akumaka. So this Akumaka project is a project that I'm inviting a good lot of us to be involved. First, I want to begin by thanking and congratulating those who, at my first call in my last communication, have been reacting positively by contributing some $50, some $100. I've seen about two people coming with $300 or so dollars. My people, these contributions will go a long way to aid this project. You may not know very much what Akumaka is right now, but you will come to know this project once we unveil it on October 1. My people, this is going to be the new talk in town. Akumaka, try to be part of it. I know we all have apprehension sometimes. Look at the contribution channels on your screen. You can use Zelle, you can use PayPal, or you can deposit money straight at Bank of America. I don't like you to ask me a lot of questions about this. You will definitely see the results of this contribution you make. My people, I only come once in a while when there is serious need to request that you go the extra mile to dip your hands in your pockets and make a contribution so that we can get certain important projects off the ground. This is one of those kind of projects. I'd like us to know that we have a lot of people who are doing a lot of great things for this movement. These are people we don't know them. We will never ever know them until perhaps the end of this movement. Let me say it again and say it very loudly. A lot of the things you see on ground zero are taken care of by people whose names you don't know, whose faces you don't know. You have never heard them even talk about the movement. Some of them are sitting and drinking with you left and right. And when you mention the Ambazonia struggle or our quest for freedom, they turn and look aside and carry their bottles and they are enjoying themselves. They don't want to talk about it. They are action people. There are too many. And to you, those of you in this category, I dove my heart. It's true that I'm not wearing a hat, but symbolically, you can see that I'm doffing my hat to you. I'm congratulating you all for the marvelous job you are doing. Listen, my people, freedom is not free. We have to work for it. We have to do everything possible to secure that freedom. And when we shall free Southern Cameroons, what we will be doing is we will make sure we keep strong institutions. We create strong institutions so that we will consolidate the freedom that we have been fighting for several years so hard, especially in the last 5 years, to get. Listen, freedom is sweet. Freedom is so wonderful. Once you have it, there are a lot of people who are jealous of you, and they'll be doing everything to take it away from you. But when you are unable to create strong institutions that will consolidate this freedom, you want to build your freedom around strong men or women. What happened in Guinea-Conakry will happen to your freedom. Just take a watch. Now, what you are seeing on your screen there, these are Guineans celebrating, dancing. You see, they are welcoming the soldiers who just asked Alpha Condé out of power. They are celebrating, receiving them as messiahs, even as they are driving past with President Alpha Condé now almost like a prisoner. My people, this is the same Alpha Condé that in 2010, the people of Guinea rose in very huge numbers to fight for. The people stood by him for all the years he was opposing, beginning from President Sekou Touré to Lansana Conté, until when in 2010, following a transition by the military, free and fair elections were organized and Mr. Condé rose to power. But Mr. Condé failed in the 10 years he was in power to show the people of Guinea that they were right to have stood by him all those years, that they were right to take him to power. In 2015, they voted for him again overwhelmingly, knowing that was his second and last mandate, because of the promise of freedom he made to them in 2010, because of the promise of democratic opening he made in 2010, because of his expressions that he was ready to build a country that will be hinged on institutions and not on strong men and women. The people loved him. The people gave it to him. And to his credit, even by 2018, and 20, when a lot of countries' economies were contracting, the economy of Guinea grew by up to 5.6%, mainly because of, his viabilization and exportation of natural resources, topmost among them bauxite. But as his second mandate was gliding to an end, Alpha Condé started thinking, because he had already started also institutionalizing corruption. He had started also installing his family members here and there. He had started thinking of ensuring that he will also stay in power for life, like his peers in other African countries. His eyes were more on Cameroon, because I remember following some some exchanges between President Alpha Condé and our own Dr. Christopher Fomunyo of the National Democratic Institute, when he tried to remind Mr. Condé that his legacy will be the democratic institutions he leaves in place. When he tried to dissuade him from falling prey to the temptation of manipulating the Constitution to seek a third unconstitutional mandate and to eternalize himself in power or to become a life president, Mr. Condé rather told Dr. Fomunyo, this message is not for me. These lessons you are teaching to me, take them to Paul Biya. Once you succeed in convincing you are Paul Biya to do what you're asking me to do, come back to me. But he failed, Mr. Condé, to understand that two situations are not the same. He failed to understand that while one person was on the path of perdition, he could be that one that embraces the path of righteousness, that could embrace the path of life, that could embrace the path of greatness. Mr. Condé, therefore, decided to go against his own dictates and force the people of Guinea to begin protesting against him, leading to 2020. Mass street protests led to, the deaths of about 15 to 20 people in Guinea-Conakry. Protesting against who? Against Alpha Condé, the same person they saw as a messiah, the same person they stood by, the same person they fought with to institute a democracy. And in the end, he forced his way, manipulated and changed the constitution, and gave himself the opportunity to run for an unconstitutional third term, an unacceptable third mandate, against the wishes of the people. And of course, we all know what happens when you do this. We all know what happens when you decide that it is now you against the people, the same people who put their trust in you through the ballot box yesterday. And so it came to pass that Mr. Condé despised everyone, even other African peers who came to Guinea-Conakry to advise him were despised. Some he didn't even receive them because he felt that they were trying to deprive him of an opportunity to enjoy power that he had been after for so long, that he should enjoy it over and over and over. And it is because Mr. Condé wanted at all costs to stay longer in power that he went the way of other leaders by creating what we now call in Guinea the special forces. That is aside of the normal forces of the country and of the presidential forces. He decided to create the special forces to be a special unit to protect him against the very people who had stood by him and who had provided him protection on the streets for several years, for decades. This is what he did. And now that is why when the same dog that he mended turned to bite him, the people reacted in this fashion. You just watched some popular jubilation. There's more footage. Just take a look again at it. One thing we should note from seeing these celebrations is that the people of Guinea have not found time yet to ask themselves questions, have not found time yet to carefully appreciate the new circumstances in which they may be finding themselves. No, 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 no. They're not thinking about that yet. Because the first and most important thing was that whatever was going to happen, whoever was going to do it, Alpha Condé needed to be shown the way. Alpha Condé needed to be shown the door. They don't care whatever new problem they're going to be faced with. The first and most important thing was, can somebody get Alpha Condé out of the way? And that's exactly what has happened. So, all these celebrations, all this dancing in Guinea may be short-lived. I say all this dancing in Guinea may be short-lived. Look here. This is Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, or Doumbouya. He is the new strongman of Guinea-Conakry. As you can see, his wife is French, from France. And when the people of Guinea will find time to sit down and start looking at these realities, it is possible that they may begin asking themselves questions. They may begin looking at things somehow differently. They may begin asking themselves, but how did we get here finally? It is true we wanted Alpha Condé out, but the new thing that is like preparing itself to come to us, is it what we're bargaining for? Remember, President Sékou Touré was the father of Guinea-Conakry, determined that while other Francophone African countries were signing the Loi Cadre, that is the Accord Cadre, were signing all those laws that pegged their country's economies to the economy of France, that sold their entire sovereignty to the French, President Sékou Touré refused to do that. And that is why Guinea is, beside Rwanda, the only other country that does not use the CFA franc. Guinea has a franc. Their currency is called franc, but it is not CFA franc. The currency of that country floats on the international currency market. It enjoys direct convertibility with other currencies. It may not be too strong, but the people of Guinea have sovereignty over their currency. And we all know that President Macron of France has done everything possible since they mooted the idea of changing the name of the CFA to ECO, thereby confiscating, thereby seizing the common currency of the ECOWAS to be the new French colonial currency for Francophone Africa, and if possible, why not rope in other English-speaking African countries in West Africa. So Guinea is one of those countries that was not so sure whether they wanted to sign the ECO agreement, because signing the ECO agreement would take Guinea back to where, since 1959, President Sékou Touré had taken them off. That is, taking the sovereignty of Guinea back to France. And so, to his credit, at least President Alpha Condé was militantly opposed to a French takeover once more of Guinea-Conakry. But he failed to understand that by trying to impose himself on the people, he would turn the people against him and make it easy for the foe to prevail against him. And this is what is happening today. So let's take a look once more at Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, who is the new strongman of Guinea. Colonel Mamadou Doumbouya, it has emerged, was trained by French and Americans, by French and American forces through the African program. And he was trained in bases mostly in Burkina Faso. So this photograph you see here, that is Colonel Mamadou Doumbouya. You can find my cursor on him right there in the middle. So he posed in this photograph with soldiers of the USA AFRICOM command. Now this picture is emerging because links are being established between Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya and Paris. And of course, there are links also being, created with Washington. What does this say about the things that have just happened? Was President Alpha Conde aware of all of this when he picked up Mr. or Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, whom he personally promoted through the ranks gradually, and not even gradually, in an astronomical manner, to the rank of Colonel? This is Colonel Mamadou Doumbouya holding the umbrella over President President Alpha Conde's head, over Professor Alpha Conde's head. That's him, standing directly behind him and holding the umbrella on his head. Don't forget that the special forces were commanded by Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya. And these special forces are just like the bee for Mr. Paul Biya in Cameroon. They are just like the bee. There's even another elite force that Mr. Biya is trying to create in Cameroon. All this in line with trying to use these forces to maintain themselves much longer than they're supposed to be in power. But President Alpha Conde did not make the right calculations. He did not understand that when these people are trained by foreign countries, generally they create loyalties. Generally, they maintain contacts. Generally, a lot is being discussed. So, is anyone surprised that on Sunday, when this takeover was happening, that the French flights were landing in Conakry? Yes, even just when they were decreeing that all the borders were closed. Listen, nothing happens by chance. We remember that this same French used Mr. What's that his name again? I'm talking about Burkina Faso, and I want to talk about later President Thomas Sankara and the person in whom he laid a lot of his trust, who himself also had a lot of connections with France. I'm talking of President Compaoré. Listen, the French were so dismayed by President Sankara's spirit of independence. We have watched speeches by Sankara over and over, and I'm going to find time to broadcast some of them on this platform. But you see, the French could easily see in Mr. Blaise Compaoré, who was next in command. I'm talking here about Burkina Faso, to Thomas Sankara, to use him in showing Thomas Sankara out of the way. And of course, what happened? The French could have their way in Burkina Faso. So little wonder, therefore, that Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya was a French wife who trained with AFRICOM in bases in Burkina Faso is at the origin of what we have all seen. So after all this euphoria, after all this dancing by the people of Guinea in the streets and the celebration, soon reality will hit. Look at it from the viewpoint of geopolitics. You will realize that the closeness of President Alpha Conde to the Russians and the Chinese definitely was not something that was going to, augur so well for him. And we all understand why. But his big point of support would have been his base, the people. If President Conde had the people with him, it would be difficult for this kind of takeover to happen. But unfortunately, he allowed himself to lose popular support. President Conde would have created those strong democratic institutions he promised. and made sure to organize free, fair, and democratic elections and hand over than coming in through a very flawed election in October of 2020. When he was declared winner on November 7, 2020, there was total unhappiness everywhere in Guinea-Conakry. He should have seen the signs. It's not long. It's not been long. It's not up to a year since he took this third controversial mandate. Where has he led him? Now, what will be his legacy? Will he go into history as that one who ended up facilitating the return of Guinea's sovereignty to the French? This is an open question. What will happen from here is every other person's guess. Will Mamadi Doumbouya organize free, fair, and transparent elections like the last military transition after President Lansana Conte that saw an opposition candidate like Alpha Condé come to power? Or the French will put in place the usual manipulation to make sure they pick a puppet who will spend his time at the Elysee taking instructions? This is a situation that President Alpha Condé has put the people of Guinea-Conakry into. And if one is not careful, this may mark a new season of instability in a country that so badly needed stability to continue. Now, what are the lessons that we need to learn from this? But before we get to the lessons, I'd like us to listen to President Condé talking about the situation in Cameroon. This video, I must confess, I took it from social media. Listen.
Cameroun, d'abord, il ne faut pas oublier qu'il y a eu une guerre de libération et qu'on a liquidé l'UPC pour mettre au pouvoir des hommes de paille. Bon, le problème du Cameroun, enfin, même le Camerounais doit se poser la question pourquoi il n'y a pas de coup d'État. Et voilà un pays où le président ne tient jamais le conseil des ministres. Il peut faire 6 mois sans conseil des ministres. Il peut faire 2 mois à Genève. La plupart du temps, il est sur son terrain de golf. Donc je pense que le cas du Cameroun, vous savez très bien, c'est que, est-ce que les militaires vont à la retraite au Cameroun? Les militaires, jusqu'à 70 ans, ils sont dans l'armée, ils ont tous les avantages, donc ils n'ont pas besoin de faire un coup d'État. Cameroun, d'abord, il ne faut pas oublier qu'il y a eu une guerre de libération et qu'on a liquidé.
So, Mr. Alpha Condé was condemning the situation in Cameroon. He was condemning Mr. Paul Biya. He was condemning the kind of laissez-faire that happened. He was condemning the fact that all kinds of advantages were showered on the forces to make sure they help maintain him in power. Reason, he could go for 6 months, for years. Mr. Biya can go for even 2 years without holding a council of ministers. Can spend 2 months, 3 months in Geneva. Of course, he came recently from there, from a very prolonged private stay. And even when he comes from there, he received like a hero. And so, Mr. Condé said that was an unacceptable situation. But he turned around to find himself in the same situation. My people of the southern Cameroons, this is why I am bringing this for us to discuss here, so that we understand that as we are fighting tooth and nail, as we are sacrificing everything, lives, money, jobs, resources, every other thing, freedom and everything to get back our country, we should be thinking. We should begin thinking now. We shall not wait until then to understand that the most important thing we need to do is to put in place strong institutions and not have strong men or women. That we should stop thinking about getting back our country to start deifying individuals rather than honoring, creating, building, solidifying and consolidating our institutions, our democratic institutions that should regulate our society, our community, and make our country enviable to the rest of the world. That is the only way that you consolidate your freedom. That is the only way that you consolidate your sovereignty. Otherwise, when you begin to build strong men, strong women, rather than strong democratic institutions, what is going to happen? You invite in foreigners. Yeah, you invite in foreign powers. And when they come in, from the moment they come in, you start losing your sovereignty gradually, 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 until you soon realize that perhaps you haven't been recolonized. That is what happens. So, right from this moment, even as we are still doing everything to completely take back our country, let us begin to reflect. Let us begin to act like people who understand the importance of strong institutions. Let us begin to operate like people who understand the sins of deification of individuals. Let us begin to understand the sins of creating strong men or strong women, because they will be the undoing. By their actions, they will be the undoing of the very freedom we are fighting to get. This is absolutely important, my people. And this is a lesson we must learn. And this is why we have also to bear in mind that with all of our people all over the world who are so intelligent, who have the technical wherewithal in every sector, we should be able to begin planning to create institutions that will train the people who serve in sensitive positions in our country. Trained by us, trained with our values. We make sure that they inculcate in themselves the love for Southern Cameroon, the love for Ambazonia before any other thing. That way, we will be sure that this freedom we are seeking, that when we get it, we will consolidate it, we will keep our sovereignty, and we will make our country great, so that this country will not on the international scene only always be in the menu. That we at least could find ourselves on the table. Some countries find themselves on the table through military might. Others find themselves on the table by economic means, by making their country so economically strong, by managing their resources so well that they become the center of attraction, that they become the center of talk, that they become one of the world's most coveted destinations. And that is how your voice begins getting heard. My people, the lessons from what has just happened in Guinea are so strong. And take note, let me make this prediction. As it happens always when some of these things happen close to home, Mr. Paul Biya of La République du Cameroun in the next few days is going to do at least one of these three things. Number one, he's definitely going to find a way, perhaps of addressing his people and making claims about new jobs that are going to be created here and there and all of those things. If he's too tired to do so, before long, you will hear somebody coming up to announce the creation of thousands of jobs in the public service, a moribund public service that cannot even sustain its workforce. We saw 700 medical doctors trained for 7 years each, still waiting to be integrated. But Mr. Biya is going to make the promise to recruit about tens of thousands of youths into the public service. That is only to take away, to efface the memory of what has just happened in Guinea in their minds. He will secretly raise the privileges, the income, and the allowances of those in the forces, police, gendarme, military, all of those forces. He will, without announcing, simply to make them not think that what happened in Guinea-Conakry is attractive. He will go ahead again and reinforce his tribal appointments as a way of checking out who is beginning to, lose out in loyalty and everything, to bring in people whom he believes strongly are Bulu like him and who will be ready to do everything to keep him there because of the advantages that they're harvesting while he is there. So, the lesson in Southern Cameroon we should learn about this is that we really have to go all the way to ascertain our freedom, because we have no business belonging in an autocratic system. We didn't have to be there in the first place. We found ourselves there mysteriously by mistake, and so we should do everything to leave from there. So if you are not contributing actively in this struggle to ensure we get out of this autocratic system, get up from slumber. Someone left a message on my platform saying, wake me up when you are already in Boya. No. You have to be awake right now and contribute in ensuring that we get to Boya. It is a collective effort. It's a collective effort of all and sundry that will see us getting to Boya. I'm displaying Akumaka once more so that you understand that I want you to be part of this project. Even if it's your $20, your $25, your $50, your $100, or even your $1,000, why not? Use one of these channels and make a contribution. We will close this by September 20 because at all costs, this money has to be in and to ensure that the project is realized at the time it is supposed to be realized. My dear people, I'm so delighted that I had this opportunity to share with us that we try to draw some very important lessons from what happened in Guinea-Conakry, because this will serve as an eye-opener as we continue to put in efforts to take back our country. Thank you for watching, and thank you for spending some time with me this Monday, which of course is our natural holiday in the Southern Cameroons. To God be